In this presentation, we will enter a tax entry for meals and entertainment into our Excel worksheet. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. Here we are in the worksheet. We're currently at 160%. We're going to enter a tax journal entry. The meals and entertainment is going to be one of the common types of tax entries that we're going to have, and this is going to be an example of us differentiating now, not between the unadjusted and adjusted, but between the adjusted and the tax trial balance. So this is going to be an item that's not deductible for taxes, but is something that's on the books as an expense. How can we account for that in our worksheet? It's easy to know the rule, but what we're working on here is how do we account for it in our worksheet so that when we have a lot of these types of things that are built up, we have it recorded properly in the worksheet and therefore can go back and easily see it. So generally, and again, our goal isn't to learn the tax rules here, it's really to just work with the worksheet. So our goal here, generally what happens is we have meals and entertainment, which may be deductible for the book purposes, but is only partially deductible oftentimes for tax purposes. So we have 11,000 here. We're going to say that only 50% is deductible for taxes. So that means that this 11,000 is correct for the books, but this 11,000 needs to be half of that for the taxes. So to do this entry, I'm going to highlight this and say that we're going to make this yellow. And then the other side of this has got to go somewhere else. And this is going to be a problem because where else should it go? Because it was an expense, but it's not deductible. So we could make another account down here, and what we're going to do is just make an account called non-deductible expenses, and we're going to not include it in the calculation of net income. So to do that, notice I need to add a column. Now there's a couple ways we can add a column. We could select the entire row here, right-click and add a column. That could be we can do that now and not have a problem, but if there was something over here, then that would mess up anything to the left or to the right of it. So it might be better or safer to learn the rule now. How could we just add something that would only affect these columns? One way is we can highlight everything here, everything that's down below. If there's anything else down below, we'd want to highlight it and then just drag it down. So we could put our cursor on this and drag it down. That's one way we could do it. Now we have this added column. Or I'm going to undo that. We can select this row, the row underneath where we want to put our new cells, and then let go, right click on it, and then say insert. And then we want to insert and shift these cells down. So that'll shift everything down, but it won't move anything to the right or left of it. Now also note that it uses the pre-formatting of the cells above it, which happens to be what we want. If we don't want that here and we want to clear the formatting, we just use this paintbrush and we can clear the formatting. And then if we did that, then I'm just going to put the formatting back in after we do this. So I'm just going to call this non-deductible expenses. Non-deductible expenses. And then we'll add, it's going to be 0 to start, obviously. And then it auto-filled all the way across. So now Excel guessed that we want those formulas. That's what we do want. So that's good. Now I'm going to copy and paste the formatting of this cells up here. I'm going to highlight or select those cells. Home tab, font, paintbrush. And then we're going to format the cells below it and then paint them to the same cell. So now it looks all the same. Now we want to double check our formulas to make sure the formulas are doing what we want. The 0, I'm going to double click on it. It should be picking up all the way down. So now we added that cell. I got to pull this all the way down. I'm going to autofill it all the way to that last 0. If we don't do that, then we'll be out of balance by whatever's in this bottom cell. I'm going to copy that all the way across because we want that all the way across. So we're on autofill. I'm just going to copy that all the way across. And then if we double click over here, it's the same all the way. Now on these zeros, I might want to make these 11 or back. I'm going to highlight these and they're at home tab, font. They're at 8. Let's make those 11, just so they're as large as everything else. Okay, now we'll do the same thing for these cells. So net income, for example, is calculated all the way down to the 0. So for here, even though it says non-deductible, it's okay to have, it's part of the net income calculation. So I'm okay to have this all the way down. There's not going to be anything in there, because we're not going to use it for the tax side. We're only going to use it over here. But still, I might want to just have this auto-filled all the way down because everything is included for our books. And I'll take that and I'll copy that across. So my net income calculation is all the way down for the books, but for taxes, it's not going to include that last cell. So when I look at taxes, it's not, net income isn't going to include that, and that's going to be basically our difference that we'll have. So let's see what will happen once we do this adjustment. So this is going to be a tax type of adjustment. In order to differentiate the adjustments, I'm going to make a little bit of a change to our worksheet. So we're going to say that all of these transactions are going to be as of the end of the time period because they're types of adjustments for the year end. So let's then use these two columns differently. I'm going to call this type instead of the date. And then I'm just going to make this an A for the adjusting entries. And now we're going to make this a T type for a tax type entry. Now we may also want to number the entries. Sometimes it's useful to be able to number the entries. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and maybe even add another column by selecting the B column, right-clicking on it, and insert. And then we might just want to have number. And it's nice to have a different column because I'll go ahead and center that. Home tab, alignment, and center. And then we could say this is 1, and now it's as a date. So I'm going to select the entire row. We're going to go to the Home tab, Numbers, change it from date to number. I'm going to remove the decimals by going to Remove Decimals. And then I might want to center it. So I'm going to go here, Home tab, Alignment, and Center. And it's useful to number like this because then I can say the next one is just going to be number 1 plus 1. So if they have their own cell, whoops, it's this plus 1, then we can use a little formula to just be able to number these, and when we make changes, that might make it a little bit easier for us to make changes to these entries. So key point here, we're on a tax journal entry. They're all going to be as of the end of the year. All right, so now we're going to enter the tax journal entry, which will be a debit. We're going to say this is the other account we're doing something to. Well, we could think about this one first. We're going to credit this to make it go down. Right click and copy, that's our goal. We'll put that underneath, so I'm going to put it on the bottom, right click, paste, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to make this a little bit larger so we can see the whole account. And then we're going to debit this account. Non-deductible expense, we'll copy that. Scroll back up top. We're going to put that up in C8, right click and paste, 1, 2, 3. The amount's going to be 11,000 divided by 2. So I'm going to do a little formula to do that. In the debit side, it's easier to do in the debit side because I don't need a negative number. Equals 11,000 divided by 2. And that's 5,500, our adjustment. The credit's going to be the same. I'm going to do that with a little formula. Negative of this number and enter. And then I'll indent this just to keep with the formatting. Home tab, alignment, increase indenting. So when we post this now, we're going to post it to the tax side, and that's what we have to be careful of. We want to make sure we post it to the tax side. So if we scroll down, we're looking for the got to do a little scrolling to do this, the non-tax, non-deductible expenses. And also note, you could make multiple accounts. Some people make multiple accounts for the types of non-taxable expenses. So you might want to make one for meals and entertainment and one for other types of expenses. Or you can just group them into one account here. If you group them into one account, then you can see the detail by just seeing what this account is including. The other method, and let's just go ahead and look at the other method too. We have non-deductible expenses. We might want to just call this non-deductible meals and entertainment. I'll abbreviate it there. Non-deductible meals and entertainment. We're going to be in K, and then we'd have to change it, of course, up top too. We'll copy that. And let's change this and make it more specific. Non-deductible meals and entertainment. Right click and paste 1, 2, 3. We'll make this a little bit wider. Okay, so now let's go back and post this. We want to make sure that we're in the tax side. So we're in the tax side in cell K39. And we're going to say equals. We're going to use the formula so we can see the tracking of this. Scroll back up. We're going to pick up that non-deductible meals and entertainment. 5,005 and enter. Puts us out of balance by the 5,005. No effect though on net income. Obviously no effect on the book net income, no effect on tax net income, because that's the point. It's down here below where the taxes are. And so then we're going to go up top and we're going to do it to meals and entertainment, same column, K28 equals. And then you're going to go back over here and we're going to pull it the meals and entertainment in E9 and enter. So now we've got, this is the meals and entertainment on the books. We took out half of it. This is what's remaining. And it's not included in net income because we removed this account. And you may even want to make this account like a different color so you can tell yourself that that's something's funny is going on there. So or maybe even the font a different color. You can make it red or something like that, in order to indicate that this account is not included down here. And that's one of the ways we can differentiate and put those non-deductible accounts in there and yet still be in balance. Because what's going to happen is once we start doing this to a bunch of different accounts, if we don't have a system to remain in balance to see how it works, then we're going to start to question ourselves. And if we look at it a year later, we're not going to be able to remember the reasoning and the rationale, which might have been good at the time, for how we put this together. If we could put together a worksheet that clearly shows that, then we're far better off. So here's what we have for that worksheet with those two adjusted, and this is the tax entry, which we're going to indicate now with the types. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.